If you want to grow muscle or improve on your lifts, you're going to have to perfect your form. I mentioned a bit in the last technique video I made that ego lifting is pretty risky and overall not optimal for you. And similar to that, having bad form while lifting can cause injury and minimize performance. But have no fear, because JoeTube is here to save your bodybuilding career. From my experience in the gym, permanent injury to my rotator cuff, I actually did injure it like a few months ago, and it's been permanently screwed ever since. And the limited research I did from watching Mike Israetel videos, I'm sure I can help you improve on your techniques while lifting heavy stuff. If you see the way you lift and don't like the way it looks, or feel like something's being pinched during or right after your reps, there's most likely something wrong with your form. So for this, you may be using the muscles outside of the targeted group, which I'll explain a little later. You might be putting too much stress on your joints, or you might be moving the weight the wrong way itself. Improving on your form can help mitigate these issues, and it'll make your lifts look and feel much cleaner. You'll also see better performance as well as increased stimulation in your muscles. There are a few key factors that need to be addressed before I talk about technique stuff. First is the two different movements on most exercises. There are two main movements when you're lifting something. The first is the concentric motion. This is when you activate your muscles in like a shortened position, or basically the act of squeezing your muscles if you want to sound normal. This is important because you want to push the barbell off your chest so it doesn't crush you. Or you want to bring the squat rack up, the barbell that you're squatting up, you want to bring it up so that doesn't crush you. There's good muscle stimulation with this part of the movement, and for you power lifters, if there's any power lifters watching this, it's all you're really going to care about, so you don't have to worry about some of the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video. The second is called the eccentric motion. This is where your muscles are kind of activated in a lengthened position. So to put it plainly, you'll feel stretch in your muscles in this part of the exercise. So to give an example for bench, it would be the part where your barbell touches your chest, or the squat where you're actually squatted down. Now this movement actually stimulates muscles a lot more. Basically, your muscles can produce more force in this part of the movement while using up less energy, so it works to break down your muscles while fatiguing them less. But there's a whole lot of science behind it, and if you want to look more into it, feel free to watch more videos. I'm not going to go deep into the science, but it's really interesting, so feel free to check some of that stuff out. I might link some things in the description. Anyways, these two movements are a very important part of lifting form. But there's one more thing I need to address before we get into the meat and potatoes of this. Lifting form revolves around either hitting your target muscles or doing the exercise well. For bodybuilders, for this type of training, this basically means hitting one or two muscles that you want to train in an exercise. So for an isometric exercise like cable flies or lateral races, you're targeting the pec major and the side delt respectively. Now for powerlifters, optimal form revolves around doing the movement the best you can. Because for competitions, it doesn't matter how much muscle stimulation you get, it's just the fact that you want to lift the weight using the least amount of energy required. Now we can get into technique. For bodybuilders, you want to move the weight in order to hit your target muscles while focusing on the eccentric motion heavily. So for this, you want to increase your time under tension. There's a lot of debate about whether time under tension is a thing because your muscles don't really understand time, obviously because they're muscles, they have no sense of time. But it's basically just how long your muscles are being activated for a rep. Time under tension is used basically just to stimulate your muscles in a lengthened position so that you can get more muscle stimulation from that. So instead of throwing the weight around looking cool and all, you want to look like a nerd and slow the movement down in the stretch position like I said. So I like to take 3 seconds for the eccentric movement, but you can do whatever feels comfortable. I know there's a Chris Bumstead, he's like the Mr. Olympia guy or whatever, he has a thing where he does like a 10-second like eccentric motion or something. I feel like that's a bit too much, but do whatever you're comfortable with. But as long as you can feel the stretch in your muscle as you do this movement, that's really all that matters. So just feel the stretch. For example, if you're doing bench, you do the motion, and once you hit your chest, you can either pause for a second or instantly just push the weight back up in an explosive motion. For you power lifters, you just want to kind of get the mark clean, right, for your lifts for competitions. So you just want to get enough depth in the eccentric so that it counts as a rep. So you're not going to really focus too much on going very slow. You're naturally going to go slower because it's a heavy weight. But you're going to go slow as you're supposed to and get as deep enough as you're supposed to in that eccentric motion, and then explode as hard as you can on the way up. You basically want to create your own momentum and not necessarily care about muscle stimulation. You're lifting to get the lift done and done well. So as an example, on bench, you're going to want to have good form on the eccentric so that you can optimally push the weight off you and then explode on the way up. You just want to push the weight as hard as you can, almost like you're trying to throw it into the ceiling. Now there's a lot more in-depth science you can get into for this kind of stuff, but I think the basics will help both beginner and advanced lifters. If all of this sounds too complicated, it's not really. I'll just tell you what I've been doing to keep track of my form and improving it on whenever I can. First, I like to take videos of my sets. Being able to review my lifts after I do them to see what I need to tweak has really helped me build muscle and reduce injuries. I also watch a lot of YouTube videos from creators who discuss lifting techniques, so that includes Chef Nippard, Tennyson, and Mike Israetel. They're some of my favorite fitness creators, and they're all really funny, and they give good advice, so I'll link their channels in the description. Apart from that, there isn't too much I focus on in terms of form, mostly because I've gotten used to my time splits when I'm performing lifts, and at a certain point you'll get the hang of it, and form will just come naturally as part of your technique. Now that you're an expert in the field of optimal lifting form, you can go and make fun of all your friends for their bad technique. Although, it's always helpful to show other people the right way to do things. Think about it, just 5 minutes ago you were clueless as to whatever you were supposed to do to lift the right way. Just do your best to avoid injury, because it's not fun. I can tell you that from first-hand experience. You do not want to get a gym injury. Also, eat protein and drink lots of water. And thanks for watching, as always. The next video will most likely be up around this time next week. Maybe even earlier. I was thinking about putting up this weekend, depending on how my finals go, because I have a final on Friday. But I might be pushed earlier or later. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next video. Hope you all have a great day.